Quitting social media has been a trend lately. I cannot go through my feed without seeing a video titled How I Quit Social Media, or Why I Quit Social Media, or How to Quit Social Media. And I think there are three primary reasons why this is something that people are so fed up with, why social media is something that people are wanting and trying to quit. Now, the first reason why is because social media makes people feel bad. You're scrolling through social media, maybe it's Instagram, maybe it's TikTok, and you see post after post after post of someone trying to show off this lavish lifestyle and how they're always happy and how they have all of this material wealth. Or you see these people trying to show off how attractive they are, or how beautiful they look, and maybe they're using Photoshop, maybe they're using filters, and you cannot help but compare yourself to these things that you see on social media. That's one thing. Now, the second reason why I think people are so fed up with social media is because it's pretty obvious that social media can be a huge waste of time. You're scrolling through, it's addicting, you just want to see one post and then the next and then the next. And it's just a huge time sink that once you're done with it, you feel like you didn't get anything done. You didn't do anything productive. Now, the third reason why I think people are so fed up with social media is because it does the exact opposite of what it claims to do. It's literally called social media, and it makes a claim that using it will help you be more integrated, will help you be more social, more connected. But in reality, it does the exact opposite. When people use social media, they tend to feel more isolated, they tend to feel more lonely, and it doesn't really fulfill them socially in the same way that real life relationships would. And so, what I'm going to do is tackle each one of these three reasons and add some nuance to them. Now, the first reason, if you recall, is social media makes people feel bad. And there's a good old saying from poker. And in poker, one of the sayings they have is if you don't know who the sucker in the room is, you're the sucker. It's you. So when people use social media, they kind of get really involved in the platform in much in the same way that people get absorbed in a movie when they're in a movie and there are characters in that movie, and the characters in the movie might have a story arc and they might be emotional and you might cry for the characters in the movie because you get really absorbed in the movie and you get really immersed. You don't want to get immersed in social media. It is really just as fictional as actual movies. People show off a lifestyle, people put on a front, but it's not real. Everyone has problems in their life, everyone has struggles in their life. I don't care what kind of image you're trying to present. And so, in this way, it really is a fiction. Now, there is a way to instead benefit from this phenomena. And the way you benefit from it is by being an analyst, looking at social media and using it as one of the greatest lessons of psychology of our time. We have access to the internet where people can, one, be anonymous, or two, post things and have likes, shares, comments, and through observing what does well on social media, what doesn't do well on social media, what grabs people's attention, what doesn't grab people's attention. You can learn a lot about the human condition. Because when someone is liking a post on Instagram, no one is watching them do this. It's subtle. It's in their room typically, or they're by themselves. And so people are less socially inhibited on the internet. That's why I bring up anonymity. When people are anonymous, they are less inhibited. That's why in YouTube comment sections, for example, you'll see a lot of people being more hostile or more aggressive, but they would never say those things in real life because, they're hidden. No one knows who they are. They're sitting behind a keyboard. And so this lets you, if you pay attention, get really into the sorts of things that make people tick, the sorts of things that humans really want to engage in. It's like this collective hive mind. And we've never had this before. We've had the study of psychology for a while. Freud would be having a field day if he had access to social media in his time. So, to treat it like that movie, well, create a situation for you where you can kind of detach yourself from the rat race of that game and look at it from a bird's eye view and learn some lessons about what people are, what they think about, what grabs their attention, what makes them tick. So that's the first thing. A second thing is something that I learned from Charlie Munger, who is Warren Buffett's business partner. And what Charlie Munger says, billionaire Charlie Munger, he says that it is critical to implement Granny's rule into your life. What is Granny's rule? Granny's rule is simple. It's eat your dessert after dinner. Don't eat your dessert before dinner. Eat your dessert after dinner. Is social media a waste of time? It can be. And this is the second reason, remember? And what I want to say about that is the way you can use social media is use it as a reward, as a dessert at the end of your day. Once you've done your things, once you've accomplished what you've needed to accomplish, then you could engage in social media and not feel guilty doing it. This, of course, takes some discipline. It takes some discipline not to eat your cake before you eat your steak. But we're humans. We have will. So, to use social media in a more healthy way, that's we eat our steak and then our cake. Charlie Munger also says, avoid extreme ideologies. What does he mean by that? He means don't get caught up in anything that's extreme, because any extremity is likely to be far from the truth, because the truth is usually somewhere in the middle, right? And so you see this thing happen sometimes with people who try to go on diets. I have a friend personally who I see this happen to him, where he wants to lose some weight, and so he goes on a strict diet. He's super strict, and he tries to lower his calories really quickly because he's impatient. And so what ends up happening is he goes on this starvation diet that's not really sustainable in the long run for him. And so what does he do inevitably? He binges. So his extreme ideology was this extreme diet that he put himself on because he's impatient to lose weight slowly over time. So he puts himself on an extreme diet, which then creates a situation where he then binges, and now he has an unhealthy relationship with food. He's going from two extremes, from starving himself to really being a glutton, overeating, from starving to overeating, starving to overeating. And it's these extreme ideologies you want to avoid. So the same thing can be said with social media. You quit social media, and then because so much of our modern world is dependent on social media, employers use it as a resume. They Google you before they hire you to, plan events that's happening on social media, to communicate with your friends or your coworkers. Typically, because of the way the economy is, the way the world works, people that are near and dear to you live further away from you. So the only way to communicate with them is through social media in some cases. And so it's unfortunately, such an integral part of our society now that Tinder is real life. TikTok is real life. That people like to make a distinction. But why are we making this distinction? Like I mentioned earlier, you learn about human psychology through observing what happens on social media. And so this is real people's behavior, and their real sentiments on things are online. These things mirror each other. They're not like these two completely separate worlds. And so if you do this thing where you're bouncing around, you quit social media, and then you figure out you actually need to use social media, and then you feel bad about yourself, and then you quit social media, and then you create this unhealthy relationship with social media. Don't really fall for any of these extremes. And so I kind of want to end off this video by talking about one of my favorite extensions. I'm not sponsored by them. It's a free extension. You can get it on Chrome or Edge or whatever you use. It's called DFTube. What it does is it makes it so when you go on YouTube, you can hide the feed, you can hide the sidebar, so you don't get as distracted. You could search for whatever you want to search for and then get off the platform.